I work a lot with librarians. I'm from the Metro City.
Had some
And I would hope lots of you do know Somers Town, but it doesn't have a bigger reach. Known but not known. It's traversed. What is true, I think, of Somers Town over the last years, probably since the British Library, has just undergone endless waves of redevelopment around its edges. It gets nibbled away at, it gets smaller and smaller. We have a luxury tower block on the end of the road that our museum is now sited on. We're surrounded by the British Museum, British Library, welcome, big institutions who in some ways would just laugh at us, and we want to say, no, a lot of what you claim to want to do, i.e. access communities and really get deep history, but you can't do it. So we do make a claim to be in a museum.
One of the main differences, I think, is the museum itself. It's like behind the main road.
Yeah.
And I think in Kilburn it would be really nice if it was on the main road.
Yeah, how do you reel people in who are thinking about the present and the future and not the past, and don't understand the kind of political, in the broader sense, mobilisation of the past?
Yeah. One of the reasons why at the same time Kilburn is interesting, but at the same time it's really tricky, is that it's fluidity. So people keep on coming and going. But I think what Kilburn really needs, it's surely that kind of rooting into the past, but also displaying what actually happens now, because there's a lot of things happening, and you know, we've got amazing whatsoever. We've got amazing artists, some of them are here. We've got amazing shops, you know, really historical ones and really key for the community. We've got a number of charities, local charities, that they deal with so many different, some of them are here again.
Who are these us? Are these people coming to the museum in the future, or people who are trying to collect stories? Like who are we? Whose story are we going to focus on? And I think that's something. It's an ongoing question. I guess.
That's the thing. The us in a way is to be invented.
And it's this project that I want to talk about. It's called Collection Collective. A project that I've started with some of my artist friends. But let's have our own collection. So this is what we did. Collective.art. You can see all the artworks there. Also have a section with text on the website. You can kind of have a collection in many other different ways. I think it's more important to have an institution behind it that kind of represents everyone in.
But also, like music and art, they are in the roots of Kilburn, so it's been the music mile back in the days.
The key thing is being able to have cheap places to work in, cheap places to live in, and both of those things are under threat.
Massive.
And it's nowhere to show the work except for the kiln, who are going to show it. But it's a theatre, and it's hard to have hanging space for local art. It's a absolute desperate situation for art in this area. Well, we're trying to find a space for this possible Kilburn museum in a need of all this local and urban development.
My favourite place in Kilburn has a fantastic hall with a stage, a very nice stage at the end. And it's had many wonderful events happen there. And it's such a shame that it's not open. It would be a fantastic resource for the sort of thing.
Yeah, the community centre.
Yes.
I think that if we are to have an initiative, a museum, it needs to go beyond the high road. You could say it corresponds broadly to the NW6 postcode. So I don't know if there's somehow a way of reflecting not so much something which is static, but a dynamic process where things are changing, for better and for worse.
But who is the audience? Are you trying to engage young people? Are you trying to engage local people? Are you trying to encourage people to come into Kilburn? I think the word museum, by the way, straight away, it's like leads you down a path you think,
Yes. We had two cakes. One had the map of Kilburn on it, and the other had the map of Ireland, and all the cups and saucers had transfers from the personal archive which the Irish pensioners kindly shared with you, we got an incredible amount about the history of Irish migration in the 40s. Then it engaged people, but that's an example of participation. There were only 2.
It took me years to appreciate how lucky I am to live here, you know. I mean, in terms of, like, let's say the music scene, every time you pass on Abbey Road, you've got about 50, 100 people standing there looking. Yeah. All these guys are traveling from all over the world, and they end up on the crossing, and then they're saying, where can I go next? You know. Yeah. And I think the natural next step is to jump on the 189 and end up on Kilburn High Road. And if there is going to be, you know, just one space that can kind of like sums up all the rest of the stuff that happened, less of the mainstream, it's going to be an amazing. I mean, that's already honestly 200-300 people a day. Which
I think that's a great opportunity, so why wouldn't you do that? No, don't call it museum. I mean, you talked about Kilburn being art and music. Why wouldn't you have the marketing that then gets those people, music side of it?
And they might reflect on why Abbey Road is called Abbey Road, and it's because there was a priory in Kilburn.
Yeah.
Well, and Abbey Road started in Kilburn. And effectively, so there is I mean, I know that the studios are not in Kilburn, but nevertheless, there is a connection because of the priory, but it no longer exists. But it was there.
You know, you look at anywhere that's got a really good cultural centre, surrounding area does really well in terms of just places to go for the community. It's the sort of centre. Art changes.
Collateral gentrification?
Collateral, yes.
You mean that the museum will make it to gentrified?
Well, we've encountered that, talking about that in Bronze Street.
There is a lot of archival material on this side of the table, and then see how you interpreted these stories, the identity of the culture, the mixed space we're trying to